During the first 48 hours of the battle, these 13 Marines transmit over 800 messages. Not 800 messages total. 800 messages that are critical to the operation. Coordinates for naval gunfire support stopping Japanese counterattacks before they form. Airstrike requests targeting hidden artillery positions. Casualty evacuation coordination, saving hundreds of wounded Marines. Supply delivery logistics keeping, ammunition flowing to forward positions. Tactical repositioning orders, adapting to Japanese tunnel networks in real time. The entire operation, communications, coordination, artillery, air support, medical evacuation, supply chains, runs through them. If the code talkers fail, the invasion fails. If the Japanese break even one message, they can predict our movements and turn Iwo Jima into a death trap. For 36 days, the code talkers transmit flawlessly. And for 36 days, the Japanese hear every word and understand nothing. The numbers tell the story. Navajo Code Talker messages, transmitted during WWII. Over 1 million messages intercepted by Japanese intelligence. 1 million they heard everything. Messages successfully decoded by Japanese. 0. Not a single message broken. Not in 4 years of trying. Let that sink in. The Japanese had the best cryptanalysts in Asia, unlimited resources, 4 years to work on it, access to every single transmission. They broke nothing. Compare that to every other code system used in WWII. German Enigma machine, broken by British intelligence. Bletchley Park in 1941. Japanese purple cipher, broken by U.S. cryptanalysts in 1940, before Pearl Harbor. American M209 cipher, broken by Japanese code breakers in 1942. Soviet military codes, partially broken by German intelligence in 1943. Every mechanical encryption system was eventually cracked. Every mathematical cipher was reverse engineered. Every codebook was captured or reconstructed. But the Navajo Code, unbreakable. Not because it was technologically advanced, not because it used cutting-edge cryptography, but because it was human. You can't brute force a language. You can't mathematically decrypt culture. You can't reverse engineer 2,000 years of oral tradition. The Japanese intelligence officers were looking for patterns, frequencies, repetitions, all the normal code-breaking techniques that work on mechanical ciphers. But the Navajo Code Talkers weren't using patterns. They were using a living language that had no written records outside of one obscure 1912 missionary dictionary, had no grammar books, had no linguistic research, had no speakers outside one isolated region of the American Southwest, had sounds that physically cannot be pronounced by Japanese native speakers. It's not that the code was hard to break, it's that there was nothing to break. It wasn't encryption. It was just people talking. The impact on the war. Battle of Iwo Jima. Major Howard Connor, Signal Officer, 5th Marine Division. Were it not for the Navajos, the Marines would never have taken Iwo Jima. That's not hyperbole. Without instant, secure communications, the U.S. forces couldn't coordinate the complex multi-division assault needed to take the island. The Code Talkers enabled real-time tactical adjustments. When Japanese defenders used tunnel networks to pop up behind American lines, the Code Talkers coordinated counter-maneuvers in seconds instead of minutes. Estimated American lives saved by Code Talker communications on Iwo Jima, 2,000–3,000 Marines. Battle of Guadalcanal. First major Allied victory in the Pacific. Without secure communications, the Japanese would have intercepted landing zone coordinates and pre-positioned artillery. Casualty estimates, if traditional codes had been used, 40 to 60% higher. Battle of Saipan Code Talkers transmitted over 300 messages during the first day of fighting alone, coordinating the largest amphibious assault in the Pacific up to that point. Every major Pacific campaign from 1942 to 1945 relied on Navajo Code Talkers. Guadalcanal 1942, Tarawa 1943, Peleliu 1944, Iwo Jima 1945, Okinawa 1945. By war's end, over 400 Navajo Marines had served as code talkers. Combat casualties, 13 killed in action. But here's the tragic irony. When these Marines came home in 1945, they couldn't talk about what they did. The Navajo Code was classified top secret. The U.S. government planned to use it in future wars, Korea, Vietnam, potential conflict with the Soviet Union. So the code talkers were forbidden from telling anyone, not their families, not their tribes, not their communities, not even other veterans. For 23 years they stayed silent. While other WWII veterans came home to ticker tape parades and heroes' welcomes, the code talkers went back to their reservations in Arizona and New Mexico and said nothing. No recognition, no medals, no acknowledgement. The U.S. government that had once classified Native Americans as foreign nationals too dangerous to trust was now demanding their silence about the very thing that helped win the war. It took 23 years. On October 7, 1968, the Navajo Code was finally declassified. The code talkers could finally tell their story. But most Americans didn't care. The Vietnam War was raging. The civil rights movement was at its peak. The country was focused on the future, not WWII history from a generation ago. It took another 14 years before anyone noticed. On August 14, 1982, 37 years after WWII ended, President Ronald Reagan declared August 14 National Navajo Code Talkers Day. By then, most of the original 29 code talkers had already passed away. In 2001, 56 years after the war, the original 29 code talkers were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, the highest civilian honor in the United States. Only 5 of the original 29 were still alive to receive it. Chester Nez, Lloyd Oliver, Alan Dale June, John Brown Jr. Chester Nez accepted on behalf of the others who had died. The ceremony lasted 45 minutes. Nobody asked why it took 56 years. But here's what makes their story so powerful. These men were once punished for speaking Navajo in American schools. Native American children in the 1920s and 30s were beaten for speaking their native languages in government boarding schools. The official U.S. policy was cultural erasure. Kill the Indian, save the man. Chester Nez himself was beaten repeatedly at a Bureau of Indian Affairs boarding school for speaking Navajo. Teachers washed his mouth out with soap. They hit his hands with rulers. The same language the government tried to destroy became the thing that saved American lives. The same primitive gibberish that teachers mocked became the most secure military code in modern history. The code talkers didn't just create an unbreakable code. They proved that what makes people different, their language, their culture, their unique perspective, can be their greatest strength. The thing that made them outsiders in American society became the exact thing that saved American soldiers. Today, there are fewer than 170,000 Navajo speakers left in the world. The language is endangered. But it remains the only spoken language in modern history that was used as an unbreakable military code. The last of the original 29 code talkers, Chester Nez, died on June 4, 2014, at age 93. Before he passed, he left this message. Our Navajo Code was one of the most important military secrets of World War II. The Japanese never cracked it. It saved countless American lives, and it could never have existed without our language, our culture, and our people. They used to punish us for being Navajo. Then they needed us to win a war. The gibberish that military intelligence officers laughed at became the most secure communication system in modern warfare. Not because it was high-tech, but because it was human. The Navajo Code Talkers didn't win the war alone. But without them, we might have lost it. And that's the power of the trick. Sometimes the greatest weapon isn't technology. It's culture. Sometimes the smartest strategy isn't what's new. It's what's ancient. And sometimes the most powerful code isn't the most complex. It's the one nobody else can understand.